You've been deceived from the very start. And the harsh reality is, you've been deceiving yourself too. Somewhere right now, as you watch this, there's a person living the very life you convinced yourself you could never have. They're earning the respect you've been craving. They're owning the rooms where you hesitate to speak. They're creating the empire you only daydream about while scrolling through someone else's success at 2 a.m., feeling that sharp sting in your chest, that restless thought whispering, "When will it be my turn?" I used to ask myself that same question. I used to watch people with half my talent land twice the chances. I used to wonder why I was always the one explaining, proving, defending my worth to people too blind to recognize it. I know that fury, that deep, quiet anger when it hits you that the game you've been playing was never built for you to win. But here's what flipped everything for me, and it'll flip everything for you too. The truth is, the game isn't against you. You just never learned the real strategy. While you were taught to be polite and wait for approval, others were mastering how influence and power actually move. They were learning persuasion while you were learning how to please. They were building unshakable self-belief while you were perfecting excuses for existing. And here's the truth no one dares to say. You're not stuck because you lack ability. You're stuck because you keep waiting for permission from people who will never grant it. You keep chasing validation for what you already know is true about yourself. You're still following rules written by those who benefit from your hesitation. But imagine if you stopped asking. What if you stopped waiting? What if you stopped letting other people's limits define your reality and instead began constructing your own inevitable ascent? Because that's exactly what's coming next. In the next few minutes, you're about to discover 7 core psychological principles that draw the line between those who create their own reality and those who settle for whatever life hands them. You'll see why certain people command respect effortlessly, why some attract opportunities without ever pleading for them, why a few live like rulers while others spend their lives serving. This isn't theory or feel-good motivation. This is precision, a masterclass in the hidden workings of human psychology. By the time you're done watching, you won't just think differently. You'll move differently, speak differently, and carry yourself differently in every space you walk into. Now type this in the comments as your declaration. I'm done asking. I'm deciding. Say it with conviction, because after today, seeking permission will feel like betraying your own strength. Number 1. Your mouth is your biggest threat. I learned this the hard way at 23, sitting in a boardroom surrounded by people who earned in 1 month what I made in an entire year. Desperate to prove my worth, I filled every silence with words, trying to sound smart, trying to fit in. I believed talking meant contributing. I believed being loud meant being valuable. I couldn't have been more wrong. The most powerful man in that room barely spoke a dozen words. But every time he did, the air changed. When he asked a single question, the room froze. When he stayed silent as others rambled, you could feel them slowly realizing they were exposing too much, giving away their leverage. That's when it hit me. Your mouth is your enemy. Every word you throw out is information you're giving away. Every explanation is an open display of insecurity. Every time you rush to end a silence, you're telling everyone that their comfort is more important than your control. Silence unsettles people because it forces them to face their own thoughts. But when you learn to sit in that silence, People start to project power onto you. They start mistaking your quiet for certainty. And that's where real influence begins. They think you're analyzing them, judging, assessing, seeing straight through the masks they hide behind. And the uncomfortable truth? You are. While they're speaking, they're exposing everything about themselves, their fears, their insecurities, their weak spots. But when you're the one constantly talking, you become the subject of dissection. You're the one revealing your hand while they sit back quietly, studying you. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few truly know what you are." Your silence becomes a mirror that reflects their imagination. They project their fears, your perceived thoughts, your unspoken judgment onto that silence. And suddenly, you're no longer just part of the crowd. You're the one they want to impress. When I began practicing this, my entire presence shifted. Instead of diving into every conversation, I started watching. Instead of trying to prove intelligence, I let others expose their lack of it. Instead of fighting to be heard, I controlled the tempo of every interaction by deciding when my words actually mattered. The shift was instant. People started seeking my perspective instead of me forcing it. They began chasing my approval because I stopped handing it out. People grew curious about my thoughts because I stopped spilling them. Silence became my power tool. And here's what no one tells you about silence. It's not emptiness, it's dominance. The person who can sit in stillness while others fidget holds the reins of the room. They don't need to raise their voice to lead. They don't need to justify themselves to be understood. They don't need volume to command attention. Silence isn't weakness. It's evidence of control. It's the quiet authority that bends the atmosphere without saying a word. Number 2, your emotions are not the truth. 2 years ago, someone I trusted completely shattered me, not by taking money or causing harm, but by betraying my confidence. They turned my private pain into a public spectacle in front of people whose respect I valued. I sat there, hearing my vulnerabilities twisted into entertainment, feeling that wave of humiliation crawl up my throat. My first instinct was to explode, to defend myself, to explain, to make them see how wrong they were. I wanted to scream until the whole room understood my pain. But something within me, call it instinct, call it pride, stopped me. I stayed silent while everything around me seemed to collapse. And in that silence, I discovered one of life's greatest lessons. Your feelings are not your facts. Emotions are signals, not definitions. They're temporary chemical reactions, not permanent truths. You can observe them, study them, and decide if they deserve a response. That betrayal didn't destroy me. It exposed a deeper strength, the power to stay composed while others lose control. While they revealed their true nature to the room, I was revealing my transformation. That's what emotional mastery really means, when someone tries to drag you into chaos and you simply refuse to react. You gather intel. When someone betrays you, you don't break, you observe. When someone tries to play with your emotions, you don't feed their ego with a reaction. You let them feel the sting of failure. This isn't about becoming cold or emotionless. It's not about pretending you don't feel pain or care. It's about realizing that emotions are tools, not traps. It's understanding that your reactions are a decision, not an instinct. Because the one who remains composed when everything around them burns becomes the anchor others depend on. Machiavelli once wrote, Since love and fear rarely exist together, it is safer to be feared than loved. But this isn't about ruling through intimidation. It's about earning respect through emotional control. It's about being the person no one can manipulate, provoke, or predict. When you become emotionally untouchable, people start gravitating toward you in their moments of chaos. They sense your calm. They trust you with bigger roles because they know pressure doesn't crack you. They start seeing leadership in you because you can think clearly when everyone else drowns in emotion. And here's the life-altering truth. Once you master your emotional responses, you stop taking other people's reactions personally. You start reading them as data points, not judgments. When someone lashes out because you set a boundary, you don't see it as proof you were wrong. You recognize it as proof that the boundary was necessary. When someone tries to guilt you for chasing your goals, you don't take it as selfishness. You understand it threatens their comfort in mediocrity. Your emotions are meant to serve you, not enslave you. Control them, and no one will ever control you again. Number 3. Guard your information like it's your lifeline. I used to be completely transparent. I thought honesty meant openness, and openness meant virtue. I shared everything, my fears, my plans, my insecurities, my dreams, with anyone who seemed to listen. I believed oversharing created connection and vulnerability was strength. I couldn't have been more mistaken. The wake-up call came when I realized that every secret I had shared had turned into ammunition. My weaknesses became evidence against me. My ambitions became punchlines. My fears became tools in other people's hands. I had traded away the most valuable form of power, information, because true power isn't in wealth, connections, or talent. It's in control. Control of what you know, what you share, and who gets access to it. This is what truly defines who holds the upper hand in any situation. While you were raised to believe that sharing is caring, others were quietly learning that information is power. Every conversation is an exchange of intelligence. Every interaction, a negotiation of knowledge. Every person you encounter is either collecting data about you or exposing details about themselves. The real question is, are you aware of this exchange, or are you unknowingly giving away secrets while they build a profile on you? What changed everything for me was this. I began to treat my personal information like classified intelligence. Not because I had something to hide, but because I finally realized that mystery commands respect and scarcity creates value. The less people know about what drives you, the more they have to respect what you produce. Think about the most powerful people you know. How much do you actually know about their personal struggles, emotional lows, or precise plans? Almost nothing, and that's intentional. They understand that when others can't trace your methods, they're forced to respect your results. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does eventually," meaning, while others end up revealing everything under pressure, the wise reveal only what serves their strategy. Your plans, your emotions, your goals. These are privileges, not entitlements. People should earn access to that information, not assume it. But here's where the true mastery begins. While you guard what you reveal, you also learn to collect what others leak. Pay close attention to what people say when they think you're not listening. Notice what they disclose while trying to impress you, justify themselves, or gain your sympathy. If you listen long enough, people will hand you every piece of the puzzle you need. They'll confess their weaknesses through their complaints. They'll reveal their methods while bragging about success. They'll expose their fears while explaining their limitations. This isn't manipulation, it's awareness. This isn't exploitation, it's observation. When you understand what drives people, their fears, needs, and ambitions, you can align their desires with your direction. You can create value that serves them and strengthens you. Because when you control information, you control possibilities. And when you control possibilities, you control outcomes. Information isn't something you cling to forever. It's a weapon, and its real power comes from timing. The right information, used at the right moment, can shift the balance of any situation. Master this skill, and you'll never again be blindsided by someone's actions. You'll see their moves long before they make them. Number 4, make yourself irreplaceable through ruthless competence. For 3 years, I was the nicest person in every workplace I joined. Always helpful, always agreeable, never causing conflict, quietly hoping that being likable would eventually earn me recognition. I believed job security came from being easy to work with, from keeping everyone comfortable. But then I watched people who were half as kind, but twice as skilled, climb past me over and over again. That's when reality hit me. Being liked isn't the same as being needed. No one promotes you because you're pleasant. No one values you for being convenient. Niceness doesn't make you indispensable. It makes you replaceable. What does make you indispensable? Being so exceptional at what you do that losing you costs more than keeping you. When your output becomes too valuable, your presence becomes non-negotiable. Even when you demand respect, set hard boundaries, and refuse to settle for anything beneath your worth. It was a painful truth to accept. I had to admit that I'd been hiding behind my likability, mistaking charm for competence. I was trying to protect my position through personality instead of performance. But competence, that's real power. Competence is your insurance policy against favoritism, moods, and politics. When you're irreplaceably good, people can't afford to ignore you. They may not like your confidence, your boundaries, or your refusal to play small, but they'll need your results more than they need their comfort. So, what does ruthless competence actually look like? You don't just do your job. You master your field better than people who've been in it for decades. You don't just meet expectations. You predict needs before anyone else sees them. You don't just fix problems. You prevent disasters that others wouldn't even notice coming. Machiavelli once wrote, "There is nothing more difficult to plan, more dangerous to manage, or more uncertain in its success than to lead the introduction of a new order of things." That's what true competence does. It changes the order of things. It makes you so valuable that the system itself has to adjust around you. Most people shy away from becoming irreplaceable because it demands discomfort. You have to take risks, challenge traditions, and suggest new, better ways of doing things. It takes the courage to be wrong at times just for the chance to be exceptionally right. But when you commit to reaching that level of skill and mastery, something changes. People stop questioning your methods and start learning from them. They no longer try to control you. They try to keep you. Your worth becomes so undeniable that even those who disagree find it pointless to argue. I discovered this truth by dedicating myself to becoming the best at something meaningful. Not the most agreeable, not the most present, but the most valuable. I studied every corner of my craft until I knew things veterans had overlooked for years. I fixed problems that others accepted as unsolvable. I turned myself into the person who made everything operate better, faster, smarter, and more efficiently. The shift was immediate and visible. The same people who once ignored my voice started seeking my input. Those who thought I was expendable began offering me bigger roles and better pay. The ones who used to overlook me were now competing to keep me. When you reach that point, the game changes entirely. You stop competing with others and begin surpassing your own past self. You stop fearing job loss and start deciding which offers are worth your time. You stop begging for recognition and start being offered partnerships. Most importantly, you stop caring about opinions that don't match your results because your work speaks for itself. Real confidence doesn't come from pretending. It comes from proof. Competence is the root of all power. Build it first, build it relentlessly, and everything else falls into place. Number 5. Never explain yourself to those who choose not to understand you. 5 years ago, I made a decision that shifted the entire direction of my life. I walked away from a comfortable job that everyone said I'd be stupid to leave, to chase something they said would never work. The backlash was harsh. Family called me reckless. Friends predicted I'd fail. Coworkers whispered about how arrogant and naive I was. I spent months defending myself, showing plans, numbers, and research, trying to make them see what I saw. But some people don't want to understand, and that's exactly why you don't owe them an explanation. I tried to make them see that my choice wasn't reckless. It was deliberate. It wasn't some wild impulse. It was a calculated move. It wasn't a dream. It was a vision. But nothing I said broke through. Their minds were already made up. They decided who I was, what I could do, and what I deserved. Their judgment wasn't based on truth, but on fear. Fear of being outgrown, of losing the comfort of keeping me small. They weren't blind to my potential. They were intimidated by it. That's when I learned one of life's most freeing lessons. Some people aren't mistaken about you. They're invested in misunderstanding you. Accepting your growth would force them to confront their own stagnation. They need you to fail because your success exposes their excuses. You can't reason with someone who didn't use reason to form their opinion in the first place. You can't make someone respect you when their sense of worth depends on feeling above you. You can't prove your value to people who only feel valuable when you don't. Machiavelli once said, "Men judge more by what they see than what they feel. Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few know what you truly are." The ones committed to misunderstanding you don't care about truth. They care about keeping their illusion intact. But when you finally stop explaining yourself to those people, something powerful happens. You reclaim your energy. Energy that can be spent creating, improving, and connecting with those who just get it. The people who truly care about you won't need a presentation to trust your choices. The right opportunities will never require you to beg for validation. Your results will speak before you do. And the right people won't need you to shrink just so they can feel tall. This isn't arrogance, it's clarity. It's about knowing whose opinions are worth listening to, whose understanding is worth earning, and whose approval is irrelevant to your evolution.